Hello and welcome back to Stellaris Lore Stories. I know it's been a while since the last one, and provided that this video gets enough support, I will be more than happy to continue doing some more. That's right, the playlist will continue to expand. The Commonwealth of Man is one of the best pre-made empires that you can play. This is because they have the most fleshed out backstory of any pre-made nation, and I really hope that Paradox adds in more starting empires like the Commonwealth of Man with a little event chain just to, get you into the real spirit of roleplay. Anyway, the Commonwealth of Man is the only nation that has its own unique event chain. That's right, this is a pre-made empire with an event chain, and it's a bloody good one. So let's go into the story behind the Commonwealth of Man. The story begins in the late 21st century on Earth, where overcrowding and overconsumption of resources has encouraged the UN to invest in new alternatives. The UN begins to sponsor the Ulysses initiative. This initiative researched experimental new forms of space travel and eventually built 6 massive arc ships. These arc ships were fitted with an experimental wormhole travel drive. Yep, it's very risky, but hey, they decided to give it a go. Each ship was loaded up with 250,000 people. Each was sent off to many different stars, hoping to colonize them. Out of these 6 ships, none of them were ever heard of or seen again on Earth. As a result, the Ulysses initiative was closed down and likely charged with the manslaughter of 1.5 million people. Because of the failed wormhole research, the entire theory was scrapped for being too dangerous, and so humanity moved on. As we know, they later discovered warp travel, but that is really no longer important. Anyway, it turns out that one of the arcs fell through a wormhole but survived. The ship crashed into existence above an alien moon that was lush with life, and the arc ship settled down on the surface of the moon and named it Unity. The colony began to flourish. The arc then formed themselves into the nation of the Commonwealth of Man, which is an empire that is ruled over in a dictatorship manner, that is incredibly nationalistic and also believes in the manifest destiny of humanity over the galaxy. This is basically saying that the galaxy belongs to humans. It's kind of like an old American colonization slogan. Unlike their Earth counterparts, the Commonwealth of Man are extremely xenophobic and will work to purge the galaxy of anything that is not human. And after years of building up their colony, they've been able to perfect the wormhole drive technology and now use it to move around in space. Once you begin your adventure as the Commonwealth of Man, you'll be greeted with a prompt that tells you about the colonizing of Unity. The arc ship that arrived on Unity is the Chrysanthemum, and upon arrival, the early years of colonization was very difficult. With such a lush moon, there was a lot of animals that were already existing on the moon, and they were none too happy with the humans' arrival. Because of this, the Commonwealth of Man organized the surviving colonists into militia units to defend the early colony. With this, the Commonwealth of Man began its slow progression into a militarist state. After clearing the moon, they began rapidly progressing both in size and technology, until they were once again able to look to the stars. Once you make it to space, you begin the hunt for the Hyacinth event chain. Basically, the colony ship you were on, the Chrysanthemum, was meant to be assisted by another ship, the Hyacinth, which has not arrived at the location it was meant to. We can find the point where the ship arrived in space and track the ion trails to see that it moved into a completely uninhabitable system. Upon arrival, you can discover the floating remains of the Hyacinth arc and begin inspecting what has happened. Upon boarding the ship, your troops make their way to the bridge and retrieve the 4 remaining entry logs from the previous captain of the ship. Captain's log, mission date 345.5. We are 15 months out of Earth and proceeding on course. Things have gone smoothly so far, the colonists are fast asleep, and Dr. Colbeck has reported strong vitals across the board. Our journey has taken us outside the influence of the sun's gravity, and we will soon reach the point where it has been deemed safe to activate the Hyacinth's subspace wormhole generator. I've made my reservations about this device known in previous log entries, but we'll know if it works soon enough. Captain's log 2, mission date 387.2. We actually made it. Astrogation is still working on getting a fix on our position, but by judging from the stars outside, I think it's safe to bet that we're not in Kansas anymore. Unfortunately, the Hyacinth has suffered some major engineering problems that have resulted in a complete loss of power, and we're currently running on batteries. Colbeck has informed me that we may need to wake up the colonists. I'm on my way down to engineering now to see why Maggie is taking a sweet time getting the reactor up and running again. Hopefully we can get underway as soon as possible and begin our search for the Chrysanthemum's colonists. Captain's Log 3, Mission Date 422.7. The situation has gone from bad to worse. There is no longer any realistic hope of restarting the reactor, and the last of the Hyacinth's power reserves were spent in our attempt to reach this misbegotten system. We had hoped to find some place habitable to set down the ship, but with no luck. We've got enough juice in the batteries to keep life support going for a few years, but with 250,000 colonists now up and about, the Hyacinth's food supply won't last the month. I've called a meeting with all department heads. We need to come up with some sort of plan. Captain's Log 4, Mission Date 459.9. This will likely be my final log. My bridge crew is either dead or missing, and a group of colonists are trying to force their way onto the bridge as I speak. Our main food supplies ran out weeks ago, and there are reports of cannibalism. I kept a small stash of food for the crew, to keep the old girl running a little while longer, hoping for some kind of miracle, I guess. When the surviving colonists found out, they're through the doors. Back, damn you. Keep your distance. I'm the captain of this ship, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let you butcher me like a... And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the story of what happened to the Hyacinth. Had they moved into a different system, they might have survived, or met up with the Chrysanthemum. After discovering the ship, it is towed back and made into a museum on your home planet Unity to teach the populace of the dangers of society. This concludes the story behind the Commonwealth of Man, and I hope you enjoyed it. The whole smashing down the doors on a spaceship really does remind me of Dead Space, but with a mix of Event Horizon thrown in there. Either way, the entire storyline behind the Commonwealth of Man remains an incredible piece of sci-fi work. If you enjoyed this lore story, then please give it a like and comment about what lore you would like to be covered next, or just your feelings about this rather sad story. Anyway, see you all in the next one.